Hello, my name is Adrian Rapan, and I blog at TestFeed. I'm currently employed at LMAX exchange. It's a financial exchange. We're dealing with Forex instruments, and yeah, we're growing a lot at the moment. You can tweet to me at ADYON2004. You can find me on LinkedIn there. So this presentation will be a report of my research, of me trying to integrate a new tool, a new way of testing into our current flow of testing. We're mainly about automation. We have around 7,000 acceptances. We also now are growing into the integration test area, which are giving us a lot of quicker feedback. With Agile, we have 2 weeks iterations, and I want to talk about what we've done, what tools we've introduced, and what type of testing we've introduced. So I'll be covering property-based testing, quick check, and Spark. Has anybody heard about these? I mean, property-based testing is a way of testing, but the tools Spark and quick check, has anybody heard about them? Okay, not a lot. So let's dive in. What do we mean by acceptance tests? Usually the acceptance test will be a piece of, in our company, will be a piece of code that runs, in our case, with JUnit. So it's all in Java. And it's going to cover end-to-end testing. So you'll have a lot of components interacting to each other, all running, and you'll just put some input and you'll assert on some output. What do we mean by integration tests? Usually you have a system is composed by multiple services, and you just want to assert that one service does its job without looking at the business end of the output. You just want to assert on some events, you want to assert on some piece of information that doesn't necessarily have a business meaning. It will, at some point, further down the chain of services talking to each other. And these are usually quite fast. You just instantiate one service, you don't have to bring up the whole system. Now, I want to talk to you about property-based testing. This represents a story that we've used a few months ago to describe a feature. And you can see more or less standard, you have a description, and then you have your acceptance criteria. So I can apply trading limits for exchange members as an operator. I need to do something, and then you have your acceptance criteria, which in this case are represented by a few formulas. And more or less, property-based testing will focus on this. And whenever you see a story like this, you can start picturing how this would work. So, we said we want to, the thinking process behind it. We first looked at the story and we said we want to test that formula. We want to say, we want to create tests, we want to create variations of inputs, we want to serve different outputs, we want to see that the implementation is working accordingly against that formula. So we started creating our integration tests, and this is the shape of them. You have the add test, which is in JUnit world means this is a test and it will run. So you set up a limit, you place an order, and then you check something at the end. And the name of the test needs to identify what you're trying to test, what you're trying to assert on. And in this case, we should accept a buy order when the limit is not exceeded. And you can see how this can explode into all sorts of variations. And this is where you have, so if before you had a buy order, in this case you have a sell order, You have accepted order, but then you have rejected order. And you can see how we're trying to cover so many variations. And we were quite lucky in the sense that these run quite fast. So I'm just going to go through them quite fast. So a lot of variations, and we were going mad. We wanted something that would give us that sort of coverage in a more compact way, in a more easy to understand way, because if you were to think about your integration tests or your acceptance tests as living documentation, and you want to make them as meaningful as possible, you don't want to have the reader to go through so many variations, and he won't get what exactly you're trying to test. He will definitely not understand what the system is supposed to do. So we ended up with a lot of integration tests.